Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Ryan and Robert Rants. Today we are continuing our ranked series. We are going through the Mission Impossible franchise. And Robert, which one are we going to be doing today?
We're going to be doing Mission Impossible Fallout, the sixth entry into the franchise and the second one to be directed by Chris McHugh.
Amen, amen. Um, I know normally we go back and forth. We do a little summary of the plots and then we do a beat by beat. I have lost track because we have done 6 of these now. So whose turn is it to do the summary?
I, I think it's my turn because I think I did Ghost Protocol.
Yeah, and then I did
Rogue Nation, yeah.
Rogue Nation. That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, Robert's gonna be taking the reins on this one for the summary, and then we'll go beat by beat. And at the end, like we've done with the past few, we'll talk about our out of 10 rating. And then as you see down below, graciously below us, we have our Tiermaker list, which Robert, other side over here, was able to graciously pull up and get together. So again, this is his brainchild and his baby. So we'll be knocking that out. And of course, since this is the 6th entry, we do have 5 other ones that you can definitely check out. And if you have not seen Mission Impossible Fallout, definitely go check it out. We are going to spoil the heck out of it. So, as the previous entries, you've been warned. So, Robert, you'd like to kick us off?
Sure thing. So for Mission Impossible Fallout, this is probably the first true sequel in the franchise. It like pretty much directly follows five. Um, Rogue Nation does somewhat follow, Ghost Protocol, but this one for the most part is a true direct sequel. But we open up 2 years after capture Ethan and the IMF team capture Solomon Lane, played by Sean Harris, beautifully and like awesomely. Like, yeah, he was a great villain. But the remnants of his terrorist network, who was called the Syndicate, are calling themselves the Apostles, and they're planning 3 like coordinated attacks, or they're still planning attacks, but now they're after 3 plutonium cores to plan a coordinated like nuclear attacks across the world, because they have like this manifesto that pretty much summarizes: the greater the suffering, the greater the peace. And that's going to be like the true statement from throughout this movie, and what their mission, pretty much their mission, is on creating a new world order. But the Ethan Hunt, and followed by Luther and Benji, are tasked with recovering these plutonium cores. Uh, but the op kind of goes sideways, and instead of Luther gets himself in a precarious situation where it's Ethan has to make a choice where it's either save Luther or potentially lose the cores. And in true Ethan Hunt fashion, he doesn't see sacrificing one over the many, so he shoots Luther, but Luther's wearing Kevlar. But yes, and then the mission kind of goes sideways, and they lose the plutonium cores. Um, and then that's where they now want to kind of disavow the IMF, because again, it's a continuous theme with these movies. Pretty much the
But
only
that's the
people,
pattern, isn't
yeah,
it?
the only
That'll
members of
come
the
back
IMF
later.
team is like Luther, Ethan, and Benji, and anytime they mess up, it's disavow time. But
Mm-hmm.
yes, I believe they. This is when they kind of it cuts to a news broadcast where you see like quote devastation throughout the world. I believe one location was the Vatican. I don't remember the other 2 locations off
I
the top
have
of my head.
those.
You have those?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me go to my notes real quick. So I did write it down. It was 3 nuclear attacks on CNN, one in Rome, the second one was in Jerusalem, and the third was in Mecca.
Makes
And
sense.
there's a little line that says, "It's believed the Pope was in residence at
That's
the
right.
time of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
blast.
I remember that
Radiation has
part.
been confirmed."
Yeah, makes sense. Probably the 3 most holiest lands locations in the world. So if you're gonna attack, I mean, I wouldn't want to attack anything, but you know what I mean. That's kind of where you're
Yeah.
gonna cause the most like
Disclaimer:
theological.
Robert
Yes,
does not want
does
to
not want to
attack
attack
holy
anything.
regions.
But yes, I mean, it would make sense if you're quote the greater the suffering, the greater the peace, right? You're going to attack the three most holiest locations. It's going to cause a lot of disarray around the world. But then, and you had some?
Oh no, no, I was just
Okay,
I'll touch on it when we get there.
okay. So yeah, and then we find out that there's someone watching this footage, and it's believed to be the person that kind of wrote the manifesto, or he like developed the. I think he was also the one that developed the cores or something. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So
go
it's
for
the
it. Yeah.
scientist that was sought out. Let me roll back right here. Major outbreak. John Lark. Okay, so so at the beginning when they talk, when they're giving the mission, they say that, like you said, 2 years later now, the extremists in the syndicate refer to themselves as the apostles. They've adopted a new policy, terror for hire, making them an even greater threat. They're responsible for recent smallpox outbreak in India-controlled Kashmir, Q Zeppelin, along the borders of China and Pakistan, threatening a third of the world's population. A new client has hired the apostles for a more ambitious operation. They've been contacted by an unidentified extremist known only by the code name John Lark. Um, Job. um, Allergies. Author of an apocalyptic manifesto calling for the destruction of the current world order. There has never been peace without first a great suffering. Um, I There's something I'm going to bring up, but I'll bring it up later. He's believed to be responsible for the missing Norwegian nuclear weapons specialist, Nils Delbruck. His security clearance was revoked after he expressed fiercely anti-religious views, and that was for the scientists. That
Yes.
was what it was. But yeah, that's what I have. The apostles have also been in contact with elements of the Eastern Europe underworld who are in possession of 3 plutonium cores stolen from a missile base in eastern Russia, indicating John Lark and the apostles are working together to acquire functioning nuclear weapons. NEST, or the Nuclear Emergency Support Team, believe with the scientists that they could complete 3 nuclear weapons in as little as 72 hours, could be hand carried and delivered anywhere in the world overnight. And they do show a map at the beginning. They show the US map. They got LA, New York, Seattle, Dallas, Toronto, and Calgary marked on the US map. And the mission, like you said, it's to prevent the apostles from acquiring the plutonium using any means at his disposal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's just a brief summary of the mission, the background. To answer your question about the
Yeah.
scientist.
Yes. Yeah, that's the pretty much the Star Wars crawl of the mission movies, right? We get the kind of the mission in the beginning, but yes, thank you. That's pretty much in great detail of how this movie sets up. So yeah, so now they have that scientist, and he wants them to read the manifesto live on CNN, and then he'll tell them pretty much what
By
they want
Wolf
to know.
Blitzer
Yeah.
cameo.
So the manifesto gets read, and then he confesses, and then we find out, oh, it's the IMF. It's basically a ruse, right, just to get him to confess. Uh, and then that's kind of when the CIA enters the arena, right, with Angela Bassett and Henry Cavill and all his mustache glory.
The mustache
The
that brought
mustache.
Hollywood to its knees
And the reason
and
why
killed a
Justice League.
franchise.
Never underestimate the power of a stash.
I was gonna say, would you like to describe to the audience what we're referring to for those not in the know?
Yes. So Henry Cavill's character, August Walker, in this movie has some facial hair with a glorious mustache. But at the same time, yeah, I mean, anyways, at the same time, he was also filming Justice League. And I think they wanted to call him back in for reshoots on Justice League, but he couldn't shave his face because he was filming Fallout. So
And under
what do they do?
contractual obligation for
Yes,
it.
they CGI'd his mustache off in Justice League, and I mean, it was bad. It was bad. Like, it was just, it was not
Yeah.
good.
See
Yeah,
the opening scene of Justice League, and you'll
the
get the
Joss
perfect
Whedon Justice
illustration.
League. The
Yes,
Joss
yeah,
Whedon
yeah,
Justice
because we
League.
have to be specific now.
Yeah.
This is the world we live in. This is the timeline we live in now.
God,
But yeah,
you know,
man,
I'm
like,
pretty sure that's when everything diverged. Like, that's where diverged. We're on the timeline. You know, we're just when Harambe went. This is we're on that timeline now.
get him out for Harambe.
Yep.
Rest in peace, King.
But
But yeah, man,
anyways,
it literally is the mustache that brought
yeah.
Hollywood to its knees because of contractual obligations and the fact that there's two contracts that he's obligated to at the time. All honesty though, I'm gonna say hot take, the mustache, no. It
Yeah, it
looks
was
like it's
just
barely there. Like it's like I'm thinking like it needs to be like,
yeah.
like Nigel Thornberry mustache if it's gonna be anything, because it looks like he could shave that and be like, okay, I can grow it back, like
He's
grow
probably got
fast. I
like
mean,
he's probably got like where his facial hair doesn't grow back as quickly as, like, I mean, me, I could shave and this will be back in a week.
or they could have done it like X2 when Wolverine comes in at the beginning and he has his hair like super gelled up and whatnot, where it's like that. He's looking like Ace Ventura in the second one. So I mean, yeah, like I feel like there's stuff that they could have done better, but when you see it, it's like really. And I think
this was the reason. Yeah, yeah. I don't know. It
Yeah,
was weird.
and it doesn't help that he has the facial hair too, like the partial like 5 o'clock shadow beard. Like if he didn't have that and just the mustache,
Yeah,
it would be more like, okay, yeah, I get that. But since they did it like that, it looks like he pretty much has a beard
yeah.
at that point, and it's like, okay, well, I mean, just get rid of it. I mean, he had a beard in Man of Steel. Like, we can't just
Yeah, that's true.
put something on him. Like, it's
I'm
like,
pretty sure that
wow,
was.
like,
I wonder if that his beard in Man of Steel was fake.
I don't know. It looked pretty real,
Yeah,
but I
I'm
mean,
kind of
that's
curious.
right. But you
I'm
see what I
kind of
mean, though?
yeah.
It's like,
It was
why the
it
hubbub
was
for
an
everything?
odd situation. Yeah,
Yeah, but
it
there's
was
also
just
drama behind the scenes with Joss
yeah,
Whedon's
Joss
Justice
Whedon.
League too. But we ain't gonna get into
Because
that.
that came out. Did
But
that come out in 2017 fall? Right.
Fallout. I thought it was 2016 for Fallout. Let me see.
I think Batman versus Superman came out in 2016.
Let me see. 2018.
Oh wow.
Because Justice League came out in 2017.
Okay. Yeah, and
Well,
then
oh, yeah, because they were in the middle of filming Fallout.
yeah,
That's
and
what
they
it
wanted
was.
it.
Yeah.
They wanted some reshoots.
Yeah, because it yeah, those reshoots really did wonders for the movie.
Yeah, and in the grand scheme of things, not at all.
Yeah, but yeah, that's my biggest gripe with it. And I remember when we had initially saw this. So a little preface, like I like to do. Robert and I did see this in IMAX. That hype for the helicopter stunt at the end was high, and then the drama surrounding the prop that made, like I said, film history and possibly contributed to the downfall of the cinematic universe.
Yeah,
But like, like I said, I don't know, like
it was
like
just
all of that.
weird. It was just
Yeah,
weird.
I just remember the one thing we kept saying to each other is like, this mustache better have like a freaking credit in the movie, a special thanks at the
Yeah,
end or something, just because of how much. Like, for those of you that weren't paying attention to all the drama, like it was big. Like, it was a really big
yeah,
deal. So, like, to get where we are now, fast forward almost 10 years later.
Jeez.
After all, yeah, I know. Can you believe that? Almost 10 years, minus a
Yeah.
couple of years, but still, it's like it'll be
I
here
mean, we think
before we
about like
know it.
when filming happens, they always film like a year or two before.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Oh
all this
God,
was
I miss
going
those
on.
days. I
Yeah,
miss
like
those days when they actually did that. Now it's like, here we filmed for 3 months, or not even 3 months now. It's like we filmed for a month, and here's 10 months of CGI work that we're gonna put into it. It's like,
yeah.
yeah, movies are in shambles, guys. That's how I feel. I miss practically shot movies. But yeah, to get back on track, we did that. I did want to mention something from the beginning.
Go for it.
So, when we open up, first off, welcome back, Alibaba Pictures. I guess they're a mainstay, at least for these two. And then, Bad Robot, you're still here.
Makes me think what
like,
happened. Yeah.
yeah, like we're so far gone from JJ at this point. This is Chris
Yeah.
McHugh's joint
Yep.
from here on out. We open on not Belfast. So Julia and Ethan getting married properly in front of a cliffside, very scenic. And then this is where Ethan's having his Sarah Connor nightmare sequence, and we
Yep.
watch CGI Tom Cruise lose his nose first, Michael Jackson style, and then just skeleton from there. Um, it's it's not the greatest look. It's not bad, but I mean, Watchmen did it better and earlier. But I
Even
mean,
even T2 I think did it better.
yeah. Oh yeah. T2 did it so much. But
Yeah.
T2's the original, dude.
Yeah.
Sarah Connor on the fence
I
and
mean, how
whatnot.
terrifying was that like in the beginning? Like when you see that scene, that seems like terrifying.
Yeah. Oh god, because it's practical. It looks
Yeah.
real. It's like you're
Yeah.
seeing skeleton on there. I will say the cinematography looks really good. In that for the movie, like the opening shot from that, and then when they go to Belfast, when he gets the delivery and he has to check his blood sugar and whatnot, the little finger prick to activate it.
Yep.
But it looks real good. Like I like the dark shots, just like Rogue Nation. This one looks pretty good with the
Yeah.
cinematography. Like they have everything queued up perfectly with the lighting. But yeah, I mean, we went over everything with that. The plutonium, the power cuts out in the van, gun to Luther's face. Um, the whole thing about the guy talking about the voice in his head, and Ethan's like, "I'm here to do business." Tell the voice to flip a coin. And then the whole Benji get the car, and he's like, "I don't think I could do that." Pulls out the phone, "Tomorrow Never Dies" style, and just
Yep. Just
drives it in. Yeah, I was like, dude, we get so many 90s movies references, or at least that's what it makes me think of.
yeah.
I mean, like I said, Sarah Connor, we got Tomorrow Never Dies here. And then Luther's like, "Don't do it. Don't do it, Ethan. Not for me." Dude, I really thought they were going to kill Luther
Same. Honestly,
right
same.
there.
Because like
And
you just gotta go big, right? Like in the beginning,
yeah.
for sometimes when you think it could be the last one of the franchise or whatever. But I mean, yeah, I mean, even going into like the Dead Reckoning and even Final Reckoning, like I'm worried about everything because everything's on the table now.
Well, they need to. Like, and I'm going to say another hot take. They probably should have killed Luther in that scene. It would hurt because I love Luther.
Yeah.
But like you said, you
Stakes.
need to have stakes. You need to have stakes. And then speaking of, you brought it up, but another 90s reference, like you said, he shoots Luther in the chest. Very speed, shoot the hostage.
Yep.
And then the fact that they leave the case behind,
Yeah.
and while they're running off doing everything, and then "Hey, we should all be dead. Why aren't
Why
we?"
aren't we?
Yeah, the it starts in this one, and I'll say a little teaser of my thoughts on the seventh one. The line, "We should all be dead. Why aren't we?" That's Ethan's line.
Mm.
And I don't know, some of these line deliveries, they feel kind of out of character for Ethan Hunt. They
Yeah,
feel
it's
more
definitely a
like
Benji.
Tom Cruise.
Yeah, I think that should have been more of a Benji line because
Yeah.
he'd be the one questioning, like, you know, or
Yeah,
I
because
mean,
Ethan's the reactor. Ethan is
yeah,
not the one to vocalize, like, "Well, why? Why not?" Like,
yeah,
he's the one that's, the calculating, like trying to figure it out, and the reaction. Because you look at his face, he's receiving information and then he's reacting to it. And
Yep.
in this one, it gets more. This is when we start getting into like the Marvel dialogue, where it's reactionary. It's where it's very got it, pun. It's a
Hmm.
pun, or like that, and then like quippy dialogue, and we don't need that from every character.
Nope.
Benji is that relief. He is the comic relief, and occasionally Luther. And then when you get them together, and then that's what's missing from this one too is Brant.
Yeah.
Is you don't have them to play off of each other and Ethan just reacting to it,
Yeah.
like
Because
because that's the thing. Ethan's the straight man. He just reacts to
yeah,
everything.
I think Brant was like the perfect, and it's a testament to Jeremy Renner. He was the perfect like middle ground too. He could play the quippy, but he can also be the like the Ethan Hunt kind of serious, stoic, and like the
Yeah.
reactionary type character. He's
Yeah,
that
because he's
perfect go
reacting
between.
to Ethan.
Yep.
He's like you would say the other side of the coin, the
Yep.
opposite of like Ethan wants to do this and Brand's like, no, we need to do this, like by the book, do this. And Ethan's like always trying to convince him, no, no, take a look at it from this angle. And it's just, like I said, that's where it gets a little weird. They like you said, we cut to CNN. The whole good cop, bad cop routine that Ethan and Luther have going on. And then, like you said, we bring back the opening from the first movie where false walls, it's a fake
Yep.
room. And then Ethan, what's done is done when we say it's done. Boom. 16 minutes to the opening credits. 16 minutes.
Yep.
And Henry Cavill gets second billing
Yep.
in the movie. So it's like, while I will say it does have one of the cooler looking openings as far as the title sequences go. It's very much vibes from the first one.
Yeah.
And again, a little teaser of what I'm going to talk about in the seventh one. Um, like I said, there's very much vibes of the first one in here. And that is an instance of something I noticed is there's a lot of referring back to the first one, whether it be a line or whether it be a tone or some
Hmm.
things. But like I said, I'm gonna save that for the seventh one. But this is the first instance where I noticed it from six and on.
Well, I guess
And then
I was gonna say to
what's up?
piggyback off that, like if we're gonna continue, you know how they wanna they're gonna go through the broker for that plutonium. Guess who the broker is? The
Who's the
White Widow.
broker?
Exactly, a character of the
Oh
White.
yeah, oh
Yeah, exactly. But like, just
but
give
before
the.
we get that, what was it?
I was about to say to tie it all back to what you think of the first one is the broker and this one and who she's related to.
Yeah, but before we get to that, we do cut to Ramstein Air Base where Hunley meets up with Ethan,
Yeah.
and they talk about that the phone that they were tracking. That the phone led them to a server in Iceland where they decrypted a communique between John Lark and Alana Mistopoulos, played by Vanessa Kirby, which is she's known as an activist and philanthropist whose charity work has earned her the nickname the White Widow. And that apparently it's a front for her real trade, arms dealing, money laundering, and also having political connections. And that apparently Lark and her are meeting up to negotiate the delivery of the unspecified package, but IMF believes it's the plutonium. The meeting is set to be in a private lounge at the Grand Palais in Paris during a fundraiser she's hosting. And we get a really good line. Do you remember the line
Mm-mm,
that Hunley gives Ethan?
mm-mm. Which one?
So I wrote it down because I feel like it really showcases it showcases that it's 2 years later from the fifth one. So time has passed. Hunley's been with IMF for a while, overseeing everything. So he tells Ethan, he said, some flaw deep in your core being simply won't allow you to choose between one life
Yep.
and
Okay.
millions. You
Yeah.
see that as a sign of weakness. To me, that's your greatest strength. It also tells me I can count on you to cover me because coming over here from the CIA was a lateral move. Some say a step down, but I did it because of you. Don't make me regret it. So
Yeah.
that is a big departure from what we
Oh
got
yeah.
in the last one, to where he's actively trying to dismantle the IMF.
Yeah.
And then by the end, he sees them in action, he's part of it, and then he's made the secretary. So from there, 2 years pass. The fact that he's on board with this and he believes in him so much. Like, one, it's definitely a lot of foreshadowing with just that whole speech. It's like, yeah, something's coming.
Yep.
But it really shows, like, he believes in the mission now. He believes in the IMF, he believes in Ethan, and he believes in the team. And then enter Angela Bassett as Erica Sloan. I did it right. I have no idea what right there. But then Henry Cavill and his mustache enter as well.
Yep.
And the first thing she says, make the call, shut him down. And boom, they shut the plane down. They say a team standing by to grab Lark as soon as the meeting's over. I love her line. a team is standing by to grab Lark as soon as the meeting is over. A G5 standing by to rendition him to Gitmo, where a waterboard is waiting.
Yeah.
And Huntley, he's like, this is precisely why the IMF exists. And she has a throwback. The IMF is Halloween, a bunch of grown men in rubber masks playing trick or treat. If he had held onto the plutonium in Berlin, we wouldn't be in this situation. And Huntley and his team would be dead. Yes, they would. That's the job. Is her response. So cold lines, dude. Cold.
Oh yeah.
She's so cold in this movie. But I also feel like she's not in it enough.
No, she
like,
has.
As far as the
She's
presence,
here. I think she has another meeting with Walker later, and then it's just when
a little phone call, literally a phone call,
like a FaceTime
like,
type thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it.
That's it.
And it's like, hi, Angela Bassett. Bye, Angela Bassett.
She was too busy
quick,
filming Black Panther. I'm not sure.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, you could be right.
I don't know.
Because that was the time. Because was she? No, she wasn't in Infinity War.
Just at the end. No, not in.
Yeah, she's only at the end of Endgame.
No, she wasn't. Yeah. Just Endgame. That's right.
Which makes sense. I mean, unless they were already starting on like pre-production for Wakanda Forever.
I mean, that I don't think so, but they were,
because it's still.
And I know that's why Jeremy Renner wasn't in this one, because of his prior filming engagements with because he wasn't in Infinity War, but he was in Endgame, and I don't think he could be in this one because of that.
I was gonna say, wasn't she? Oh, you know what? Because she was on the show 911, and that had started in 2018. So I'm wondering if it was in between all that. Because I was like, wasn't she on that 911 show? So yeah, because Wakanda Forever wasn't until 2022, but Black Panther did come out in 2018.
Yeah.
So she might have been busy filming. Yeah, God, Black Panther came out in 2018, dude. Where's the time going?
Right before Infinity War.
Yeah. And then, like she says, she wants one of her own on the mission to appraise the situation. Agent Walker's special activities is where he's at. And they say his reputation precedes. You use a scalpel. I prefer a hammer. And then she tells him, no one comes between you and the plutonium. Not Hunt, his team, no one. So yeah, she's very direct in what she wants. And they also make a mention of RFID bands, which thinking back on it now, I think this is like the earliest where I start hearing RFID mentioned a lot.
Yeah.
As far as the technology that's used, because it gets brought up recently. I don't know if you saw it, but the movie G20.
No.
They left and right. Like every other line is RFID, RFID, RFID. Like, we get it. Like, it's like, they hook onto that one popular technology.
Yeah.
And then it's like, we're just going to use it.
We're going to show we're ahead and smart.
Yeah, it's like one of my favorite uses of technology, or not even technology, but mention of like to really time capsule something is in Bad Boys for Life, when they're talking about they scoured the web in 4chan. It's like, they say the dark web and 4chan,
yeah.
like in the same line.
Although I was actually just about to bring it up. It's like when the dark web kind of became like, it's kind of like more widely known to the general public. Like you just see
Yeah.
movies and shows, like everything that was kind of like like, oh, it's all over the dark web. Like, do you even know what the dark web really is? The
Yeah. Do not look up what the dark web is.
dark web,
Don't do it. Dark web.
dark
Don't look up the dark
web.
web. Letterkenny
It's
reference. Go watch it.
yes, it's just funny. Like you just, I think the one it was a movie called Nerve, I think, with Emma Roberts.
Um,
Was it is it
I
Nerve?
never saw it, but when it was in theaters, we only had like a couple of people show up. Like
Yeah,
I think opening night was like the biggest crowd, but it was in the second smallest auditorium, so we
yeah,
didn't really have too many people. And then it was like dead. I was gonna say
yeah.
DOA, but no, it was dead. Like after that weekend, nobody came to see that movie.
It's just one of those things. It's like, oh, this is a new popular thing. Let's just you know include it just so we can try and be hip.
Yeah, we're cool.
Yeah,
We're hip. Durka, durka, durka.
but yeah.
But
Anyway,
this is when we're on the plane. And they're like, how are you gonna do it? He's like, we're gonna scan his face. Then he scans John Walker's face. It goes into the thing. Um, and then you're like, well, how are we gonna get him? We're gonna jab him with this. He'll appear drunk, and then pass him to the team outside. And then we get a line. We get a line immediately after that from Walker. I keep wanting to say John Walker, dude. I want to say it so bad
yeah. I
because I don't
honestly
remember
forget his
this
name is.
Walker. There's
I
there's
forget his
only
name
one
is
Walker to
August.
me
Yeah,
recently,
I forget his
right?
name is August. Yeah.
I did too until you said it. I was like, oh yeah, his name
It's
was
it's it's
August.
because, well, spoiler alert, his alias, and then it's Walker, and then his alias is John Lark. It's
Which segues perfectly into what I'm about to say. There's a
yeah,
line right after he says, jab him and do that. There'll be a team outside. He says, "You're not getting rid of me that easily, Hunt." And it's like again, the foreshadowing it's not even like clever foreshadowing at this point. It's sort of like smacking you in the face, but also the trailer ruined it. The
yeah,
trailer spoiled the surprise. So it's like, oh no, he's the bad guy.
yeah,
What? But this whole scene, and I wrote down the lines because it's like it's right there in your face. The whole "you're not getting rid of me that easily, Hunt," and then Ethan. And if you hadn't gunned down every syndicate agent they sent you to find, I wouldn't be here.
yep. So
And then
kind of like leads you to believe it's like he's trying to eliminate all like known connections.
exactly, and then he's like, "You're why we don't have You're why we don't have a living witness who can identify John Lark or the apostles."
Yeah,
It's literally right there. If the trailer didn't smack you in the face, it's these lines will. And again, this is where I start having an issue with the script. Is the dialogue? It it feels like Rogue Nation was just like, this was his shot. Chris McHugh shot. He did good. This feels more, and I haven't seen it, but from what I've heard, the second Jack Reacher. Like the first Jack Reacher is pretty
yeah,
decent,
yeah.
but I never saw the second one. But I heard the second one goes down in quality,
But
and this is what this
I
one
don't think he
feels like
did
with
the
the
second one.
dialogue.
I don't think he did the second, at least
Did
director
he not?
wise. I know he directed the first one. He might have. I don't think he, because second Jack Reacher had to have come out in like around the same time period as these movies.
I'm looking it up right
Could be wrong.
now.
He might have
Jack
wrote it.
Reacher. Oh no, it was Edward Zwick that
I
did
have no
it.
idea who that is.
He did, if I'm not mistaken, Last Samurai. Yeah, he did Last Samurai.
It's kind of like,
Oh, and Courage Under Fire. That's an old movie. Denzel and Meg Ryan. I had no business watching that movie as a kid, but for some reason I did. But yeah, so under the writers, no, surprisingly. Okay, so you get a pass. You get a pass, McHugh. But still, like, he did write this one. And, like I said, I feel like the dialogue's a little weaker like that. But we do get the suit up.
Yes.
And I brought this up to you in theaters, and when we talked about it after the movie, and I remember this conversation, the angle that they show them both from shows that there's a huge height difference between the two of them.
Of course.
And he does have a really funny line though. He's like, just make sure that when you jump, you don't do before, you don't do after, because the last thing that goes through your mind is your kneecaps. So McHugh, you saved yourself with that. That did make me laugh.
That was a good. That's a funny one.
But we get the jump, which
Yeah,
was
it
really
was pretty good.
done.
Yeah, I mean,
And
yeah, it's like one of those ones. There's just like in the movie, it's like almost one shot. Like it's in the plane, and then you see, I believe, Walker go, and then
yeah,
Hunt goes right after, and it basically just follows them as they go out the plane, and you're like, man, did they really do this? Because there's all kinds of tricks you can do to fake it, but given the given the
well, like
reputation
the
of these
lightning,
movies, yeah,
I feel like the lightning is the weakest point.
yeah,
Because that's where it gets cheesy. I get you need something to happen, but I feel like if something maybe with the oxygen tank would have happened, but
yeah.
having Lark get like, okay, I got struck by lightning. Now
Because I
I'm good.
mean,
All I need is some oxygen to bring me back.
yeah, like I don't know how long it would take for a halo jump at like 25,000 feet, but I imagine it's like over within a minute, maybe. I don't know. It's like it's not long.
Yeah.
Like it's not as long as you people might think it is to do a skydive jump. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's no. I don't think he'd recover from a lightning strike that quickly.
Yeah, like I said, that's why it would make more sense if it was something with the oxygen or something had happened with that. It'd be more believable, like he passed out or
Like yeah, like a
something.
crack
But
in the mask or
it's
something or
yeah, but
something.
the like I said, the lightning makes it look cheesy. The clouds, the first time I saw it, I didn't like how that looked because I feel like it cut too much into the realism with the stunt. And spoiler in a little preview of what I'm going to talk about in the next one. It's my issue with the stunt in the seventh one is like they did such a cool thing, but the CGI is what kills it when they
Yeah,
mask it and they try to combine it. It'd be different if the CGI looked good, but it doesn't. And
yeah,
it just when you overlay it, it just looks bad. But
yeah,
again, that's been my issue with this whole series is that the CGI has always been a very, very, very weak point of the franchise. But aside from that, the jump itself looks great. And especially the landing part, it looks a little janky because it is the CGI camera coming down. But I think overall, I mean, the scene is serviceable.
yeah. I agree.
Yeah, and then we cut to the party. They go in. Well, before that, that's when. What do you want to refer to him as? Do you want to still refer to him as Walker or
I mean,
Lark at this
we can
point?
we can call him. I mean, we can even call him Cavill. I don't. It doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
But
So what I'll do on my end is I'll just pivot once the reveal. So I'll just keep
yeah,
calling
that's
him
fine.
Walker
Yeah,
for now. But yeah, this is when they land and he's like, "Oh, you had issues with your oxygen tank or something." Again, quip like, "Ha ha ha, ha,"
yeah.
funny. I mean,
Like
I
you
guess it's
weren't just
serviceable.
passed out, right? Like, I mean, how are you gonna make
Yeah,
fun of him? Like, looks like you lost your oxygen. It's like, bro, come on. You. How do you not know you were passed out for like the whole time?
yeah, or like a thanks or something. But I mean, it does go with his character because he's arrogant.
Arrogant. Yeah.
But yeah, so they go in, they're wearing the stuff and whatnot, and then this is where we get the bathroom scene. So, what was your take on the bathroom scene?
I thought I thought it was hilarious at first because they go in and then they at first he tries to like drug him and then the guy gets that drop on Hunt and then Walker just smashes him with the laptop briefcase
Dude,
or
that
it was the
briefcase smashed to the
yeah.
face. Like,
Like I mean you could probably have because I mean yeah it was the face to the face mass generator and he like yeah
yeah.
and
And then when
just
it's missing the nose, dude, it looks
yeah, and
so bad.
just smashes him in the side of the face with it. I'm like, you hit it. You probably could have killed that man with that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then they end up dragging him to the cubicle, the stall, and that's when other people come in and they think it's
Um,
exactly like
ooh.
three, like they'd see three sets of feet. But honestly, I think the fight between, I mean, I guess we'll call him like the not the not John Lark,
Not Lark.
not Lark,
Not
not
Lark.
Moby. Yeah, the
Not
not
Moby.
Lark. You're not
But
Moby,
yeah,
are you?
dude, he gets in a good throat punch to Walker though. He's
Oh
like,
yeah, dude, he beats the crap out of him. Like 2-on-1, he's taking them both on.
yeah, because he does that. He gets thrown. They
Yeah.
throw him into and over the mirror,
Yep.
and then I do like how it gets very, very cheesy, where he just pulls a pipe out of the wall like it's nothing and just
Yeah.
starts fighting with it.
I
But
would
we
say
do get that iconic arm
the
cocking.
the
Yeah, the
reloading.
little, yeah.
But I want to say like this movie kind of like went a little bit over the top not as far, but like it started getting to like Fast and the Furious over the top.
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm so glad you said it.
Like
Yes.
not like it,
Yes.
not to that
And
extent, right?
later, Fast and the Furious.
Yeah, like not to that level, because I mean, if you know, say it's a 10, Fast and the Furious went to like a 26. This is probably more like it's getting, you know, there's just some parts where it's just like gets
Cheesy
to
and
the, yeah,
hammy.
it gets to the over the top, yeah. But
Very
anyway,
hot pocket. Ooh, that
yeah,
sounds good.
and again, ripping a pipe. I mean, I've never tried ripping a pipe from a whatever, but I don't know if maybe other people can do it. I probably can't, but
Well, I mean,
you know,
for a bathroom of that caliber, but it also could be a
yeah,
remodel job where it's maybe an
could
older
be,
building just remodeled.
maybe, but I don't know, everything looked kind of state of the art in terms of
Yeah, that's why I was like, when he pulls it out, I'm like, dang, dude.
right.
So like that throw punch should have killed should have killed Walker, but he pulls that. We get the arm cocking. Ethan's getting punched to the face and kicked
Yeah,
in the chest, and we get his signature
but I like
run
it.
and charge.
But I do like it. It's because it does show like, hey, Ethan is getting older. Like,
yeah,
he might not be reflective of Tom Cruise's real age in this movie, because you know the depending on how the timeline works out with these movies, you know, Ethan Hunt can be a little bit younger, maybe 10 years, but it's still like when you're an aging agent, like you're not going to be as quick or as powerful or whatever, so you got to make up for it in other ways,
like running and charging into the guy that you're
exactly.
trying to get an image of his face of.
I mean, don't
But
get me wrong, Tom Cruise is in far better shape than I am, but
oh yeah,
still like
can relate.
yeah. Still.
But
But
hey, this is when we enter Ilsa with the headshot, dude.
yeah, because he's about to drive the pipe into Ethan's throat, right? And then all of
Yeah.
a sudden, boom! And then you like, you know, gets shot in the head, and you like look over and you see Ilsa. You're like, oh, she's back, and everyone rejoiced because, you know, one of the
and
better
then you get Walker walking in like the dude on the toilet in True Lies. He's like, ooh, ooh.
Ooh, ooh. And he's like, but I like the line. I mean, it's a quippy line, but it is still pretty funny. It's like, can you still make a face? He's like, I need a face to make a face.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a quippy line, but it's funny in that moment.
There's that, and then there's also another one when they were like, did you have to go for the head? And she's like, I was aiming for his chest. Which is like, come on, it's Ilsa. She always gets like all the shots she makes. But I guess that goes in turn with, these agents are getting older. They're not, the young, fresh ones that we know
Yeah.
when we first met them. And, with all the leg grappling and like the getting thrown around that she does, I mean, it makes sense. She'd be a little off on her aim. That's okay. But dude, all that blood.
Oh, right.
All of that blood.
Right. It's a little excessive. And they played off like a nosebleed or something.
Yeah.
Like, bro, if
and
you're
then
bleeding that much from your nose, you're gone. Like, don't.
And I like how Ethan looks to them and he says in French, he's like, you want some too? Like, next. And then this is when they're like, well, we still got to do the thing. And Ethan, his usual line, now we just have to hope they've never met. And
Again,
Walker with the hope is not a strategy. And Ilsa, oh, you're new.
And it's funny because she was the new one in 5, and I think Benji said it to her.
Yeah. So now she's just like, she's part of the gang now.
It's like a rite of passage.
And again, this is when we get another quippy line. They're walking. She's like, don't do this. You don't know what you're getting. You don't know what you're getting into. You don't know what you're involved in. He's like, "What am I involved in? What am I involved in?" Like it changes to like where he's serious, and then it goes quippy when he's like, "What am I involved in?"
Yeah.
So like it was just that did make me laugh. I will say that, guys. I like quippy lines. I like quirky. It just feels very out of place for this,
Yes. Time and a
especially after what
place.
we've had. Yeah, time and a place, and like Robert said it perfectly, and I'm so happy again that you said that. We're getting into Fast and Furious territory,
Yeah.
and it doesn't quit. But this is when we find out that people have been sent to kill Lark, contractors, paid assassins. This is what he's getting into, and he tells her, he's like, you should have stayed out of the game, and she responds, you should have come with me.
Yep.
And it's like it's that back and forth, will they, won't they, which I think that they would. You said it in the last one, they're equals, and the way that I've always viewed Ilsa is she's British Ethan Hunt,
Yeah.
and she's a good character. Like she's written well, there's conflict, like there's everything.
Yes.
Everything. The biggest thing for me is conflict, but she's not perfect, but she's good at what she does. Where Ethan has the street smarts and all that, thinking on his feet, she's more of the physicality portion of
Yeah.
it.
I was gonna say
And
Ethan kind of operates more in black and white.
yeah,
She's more shades of gray. Like,
yeah,
yes, she does do the right thing.
Shades of Gray in the shadows.
Yeah, yeah. She overall does the right thing, but sometimes her methods do operate in, like, because we find out later her mission. Well, I don't want to spoil it just yet, but yeah, she was sent in to take out Lark in this instance. But yes, she kind of does operate more in the shades of gray than Ethan does.
Yeah, I agree. And to cut back to what we were talking about earlier, enter Alana. So, what were you gonna say about Alana's character?
Oh, to tie it all back, when we were talking about Mission Impossible 1, is how they're always having these throwbacks. And then that's when they introduce Alana and her brother, who's not really,
Zola.
yeah, he's there. But
Yeah,
yes,
and I actually did write down her entry. Oh, what were you gonna say? I'm sorry. I'm
no,
sorry.
I was about to say, and her connection to the first one is she is the daughter to Max, the broker that,
Whoa.
they look nothing alike, but whatever. Um,
Ah,
nah, she definitely
l-
takes after the dad.
yeah, you know what I mean though. Like I feel like Vanessa Kirby does a really good job
Oh, I
in
like,
this
yeah,
movie
yeah,
though.
she's
Like
great.
like this was my first introduction to her, like
I
in
think
a
so.
movie or like in anything, because I didn't watch what was it, the Crown, because I
No,
know she plays was it Princess Margaret in there or something like that. Like that's the extent
yeah, I think
of
this
like
is
seeing
for
her in
sure
something.
her first like mainstream type, like getting her name out to wide known, become more widely known to everybody.
Yeah. So I did write down her line because you don't see her. You don't see her face. All you do is hear her voice as he's entering the fundraiser, and it says, "This charity was started in honor of my mother. Those of you who knew her understood her strength, her tenacity, her resourcefulness, but there was another side to her, a side most people never saw. Max was something of a paradox. She had a fascination for paradoxes. I'm emphasizing on these lines, a fascination she passed on to me. She had dreams of a very different future, one in which her unique talents were no longer required. All she made was to make the world something it could be. That future isn't here yet." So again, a lot of what she says are lines, if I'm not mistaken, especially the tenacity and resourcefulness are like exact lines that she says, that Max says in the first movie
Mhm.
when she's talking about I think when she's describing Job's the way that Job talks in the email versus how Ethan talks as Job, pretending to be Job.
Yeah,
There was your thoughtful, there was your playfulness, and stuff like that. So, and especially the paradox thing. Like it's just again, like I feel like this script just like hammers. Like, get it? Do you get it? Do you get it now? Do you get it? Like,
Yeah,
and there's better ways to do it, but I feel like it's sort of just you're spelling it out too much for the audience. And I don't really like when that's done with dialogue. I like it more visually when it's done in a way like that, or just like you see something, you're like, oh wow, and then you come to the realization
yeah,
versus having to have it read to you. It's you know what I mean? But
yeah.
that's just my thing.
I mean, I think it's just because the time gap between the movies, like they kind of have to go with, like they're going into it thinking like, yes, people did watch the original, but if you haven't, then we're gonna say all this, and then hopefully you know we can be like, well, who was Max? And then you can be like, oh, she was in the first one, and then okay, well, let me go watch it. Let me see this connection here,
Yeah.
and then that's how and then you can kind of see those parallels as well. I think that's
Yeah.
maybe their intent, but again, like if Mission Impossible One, if this franchise was only like say 10 years old instead of like 30,
Yeah.
I think it'd be a little bit different. Like if Mission Impossible One came out in like 2005 and they just made every movie every 3 years or something, it'd probably be a
Yeah.
little bit different. But at least the
It
line,
also
dialogue wise.
it also goes back to what we discussed in Ghost Protocol, how it should have been Max. It should have been Max that he was meeting
Oh yeah,
because
yeah,
then it would add some more weight to this and show you that Max is no longer with us.
yeah,
But at least we got her. But I get why she wouldn't want to come back, especially with what we talked about in Ghost Protocol. Which, again, if you haven't seen it, go back and watch our take on Ghost Protocol. But yeah, this is they're having their conversation at the bar. He's like, they're here to kill, da da da, and then this is when he starts just fighting with everybody. At first, he does it like strategically where no one will notice, and then he's just outright like killing dudes right
yeah.
then and there. And this is when it's smooth. I like how smooth it is because you don't realize it's happening until it happens. But Ilsa hopping over the railing
Yep.
to flip the assassin over with their legs and then just getting up to
Gets up
walk
and
away,
walks.
and she's
Yep.
barefoot while she's doing it.
Of course, because it's not practical to be in heels to fight in heels.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's so seamless. You just whoop jumps and then gets up and walks off, and like it's even done so like the camera's position where it makes it even that much more smooth because she just kind of like walks off and the camera doesn't follow. She just
Yeah,
walks off the like pretty much walks off scene.
yeah, because it
Like
just focuses on the guy on
yeah,
the ground, and she's just like boom into the crowd,
yep,
like nothing.
like
Like you
a
said, she operates in
assassin's
the gray and the shadows.
Assassin's Creed style. Just boom, gets it done
Yeah.
and just blends back in.
Okay, my big issue with this then, we never got an Ilsa jump from a rooftop into a barrel of hay. But yeah, so they do that. They leave, they go back. I guess it's her place or a chateau or whatever it is, but they're meeting up
Yeah,
with everyone, and then this is where they're discussing the transportation of the asset. And he's
yep.
like, what's the asset? And who's the asset, Robert?
The asset is Solomon Lane,
With a
the
beard.
with a full on shaggy caveman style beard.
Hmm.
So yeah, that was the deal for the so Alana is a broker. So in order to uh, what Lark wanted, so this where it kind of gets confusing. So we're kind of like the story got confusing. So the broker the deal was the plutonium cores for the asset. So Lark has to break out the quote Lark now being impersonated by Ethan Hunt has to break out the asset of Solomon Lane to hand over to Alana so then they can get the plutonium cores.
Yeah.
But we never find out why. Did we ever find out why or who wanted Solomon Lane? Because I mean, obviously, Lark and Solomon Lane is partners.
So
Was Lark just behind everything? Like,
So yeah, this is where it gets a little convoluted
yeah,
because they do have a line where they say for Solomon Lane that he's in a never-ending interrogation being
and I know
passed back and forth between governments.
and I know the MI6 wants him back because they don't want him to be like spilling all trade secrets. So, and I know we find
Yeah,
out
and it's
that,
also because it's a stain on them. It's like this
yeah,
is the guy that created the syndicate, and he was one of our own that
yeah,
went rogue. So they're
and we find out
cleaning house.
Alana is working for the CIA to, or to build a relationship with the CIA, and is that, and is she trying to hand over Solomon Lane to just build goodwill? Like it doesn't, it's not
So
expressly known like why she want, like who stole the plutonium cores to broker the deal to Lark. If you know what I mean, like
so
it's a little weird.
yeah, it gets really convoluted. There's some notes that I took
I feel
regarding
like,
it. So she says she's just a broker and
yeah,
that the main thing is to extract Lane and to get the plutonium. Um there's something I'll bring up later, but it does sort of tie in together. The way that I look at it from this point is that Lane is playing the long game and John Lark is an associate who's
mm,
sort of like helping him out. He's sort of like, if you were to think of it like if the syndicate and Solomon was a business, Lark would be the contractor that they hire out to come and, help them on a special project and then,
yeah,
he'll leave eventually. But it's sort of like they got together and they formed a merger, like they merged
yeah,
sort of thing. That's the way that I understood it, especially watching it again. Because yeah, that was the same thought I had for the longest time because the plot gets too
yeah, and it
there's too
might,
many spinning plates like
yeah,
with this.
and it, like again, and it's again like we said before. This is when the the stories get more intricate, you know. But I feel like this one, and we'll even get into like
Well, we get a
directing.
2 minute cutaway of what could happen
Yeah,
right here when they're talking about the plan. Like Zola's plan is to kill everyone.
yeah, but yeah, so like this was where in the kind of the everything kind of was like, it was like, and it might. I think there was just a better way to have, I guess, explained everything instead of just fast dialogue, right? Because then it also does do a
Yeah.
cutaway to how this plan to break out Lane is going, and like you said, Zola wants to kill everybody, but then we find, that's not Ethan. I mean,
Yeah.
he can't do that. So then he
But
alters the plan.
yeah, but before he does that, when they're talking about he's not Ethan, he can't do that,
Yeah,
but
so
he's still assuming Lark, and they tell him, like you're John Lark, you're legend. Like, is that an issue for you? And do you have a line? And he says, "I murder women and children with smallpox. I
yeah,
have no line." And then the look on Alana's face
yeah,
is
like,
like,
oh yeah,
she's like she says she's just a
she's
broker, but
just a
it's sort of
broker.
like I like to play arms dealer, but I'm not really in it, but I am. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like it's that sort of thing. It's like she can do it, but
she's able
she's
to
afraid.
compartmentalize. Yeah, she's able to
Yeah.
compartmentalize. Like, hey, I just broker deals. Whatever someone does with something that goes through me is not my problem. Like,
Yeah.
she kind of. I mean, it probably maybe it still weighs on her because
It
this
it
is the
feels like
thing
she
where
puts on a
ignorance is
front
bliss,
where
right? The ignorance
yeah.
is bliss. So, like, if say I wanted something, and like say you and I are making an exchange between her, and I want to do something evil, she probably doesn't want to know the details. She's like, oh, I mean, I'm selling you a crate of automatic weapons. Whatever you do with them, I don't want to know anything because ignorance is bliss. So when he
Yeah.
comes out and says, no, I did all this, she's like, this is a really bad person.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then the way that I look at it too is like I feel like if we had got like a side story or like we had another movie going on where it's just from like Alana's point of view, I feel like there would be something where it's showing her, I'm taking on this role from my mother of, her whole enterprise. But it's one of those things where she might have that conflict of, do I even want this? And, just like pushing back against it. Like I feel like if we got like a little side movie or something like that and we're watching her journey
Hmm.
into becoming into the role that Max held. I feel like there'd be like at least one scene in there where she would be putting on that front and she'd like sort of like the Godfather going into the bathroom and just sort of like, just like like nervous and like, and then the transition happens where it's like, okay, I'm gonna go out there and I'm taking on this role.
Yeah.
And you get that turn. And that's what I feel like this is she's It's sort of like I can't believe I want to make this comparison, like Michael Corleone,
Mhm.
where he is at the beginning of The Godfather. Before he goes into the bathroom, he's very nervous. I don't know if I want this. Goes into the bathroom, comes out, and he's accepted his role as the new
Yeah,
Godfather. Like he is now, I'm in it. Like the person I was before is gone. This is who I am now, assuming responsibility. Like I feel like that's the kind of side movie we would get with her, and that's what I see when she has that expression on her face of like, I have a line. I won't admit that I have a line and that I'm
yeah,
not gonna cross it, but I feel like that was them showing us that
yeah.
she's
Because she does hesitate, like when she makes that face, she does hesitate, where you can kind of see that facade kind of drop a little, but then
yeah,
she's like, "Oh crap! Like I gotta stay in character here as well." Like, and she just says something like, "Well, tomorrow's gonna be a whatever day," or like she's like, "Rest up, tomorrow's gonna be a busy day," or I don't know what the lot like
yeah,
exact word for word, but it's
yeah.
pretty much
And then
along
she
those
gets out of
lines.
there. She's
Yeah,
like,
and she's just like, "Nope."
yeah. So from there, then we finally cut to Angela Bassett's second scene in the movie where she's talking with Lark and not Lark. Well, I guess Lark,
Walker.
but she's talking with Walker, and he's trying to convince her that Ethan is Lark.
Yeah.
And I wrote down his line. They were believer the apostles. They were believers in a cause, and when that cause turned out to be a lie, they turned against their masters. How many times has Hunt's government betrayed him, disavowed him, cast him aside? And how long before a man like that has had enough? I feel like that's Lark talking.
Oh
That's
yeah.
not Walker.
No, that's
Like
definitely like.
that's like, him, like that's his frustration. And I feel we don't get enough of that. Especially how they talk about his manifesto and all this stuff is like I want to see more rage when he makes
Mhm.
that turn. It just feels like we just see Walker the rest of the movie. I want to see John Lark. That's who I want to see once it's revealed who he is. Like I want to see him drop that facade. I want to see like, okay, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't have to pretend to be Walker anymore. Now
Yeah, because
I'm John
Walker is
Lark.
his identity. Lark is his real persona.
Yeah, exactly. And we don't get that.
Yeah.
We do not get that in here. But yeah, and she says, that is a serious accusation. Can you prove it? Like again, cold.
Yeah.
Like she's basically the Hunley of
This movie,
this
yeah.
one.
But
And then we get the
then
what was it?
that's where he hands over the phone, like everything can be proven by this phone, and he like flips it over, and it's like, okay, so the phone before was all cracked from the bathroom brawl, but this
Yeah.
phone is pristine, and that's again where you get is like, okay, well this guy's not all who he cracks. Like if you didn't watch any promotional stuff, or if you haven't
Or
caught
caught
on
the
yet,
beginning of the movie.
yeah, like
Yeah.
this is the moment you're like, this guy's fishy.
Yeah, especially telling that to his boss,
Yeah.
who is like, oh, we're just trying to get them out, but now you want to do that. But then this is when we get the Lane prison break.
Yeah.
I will say, watching the guys get thrown in the back of the truck was funny, and I like that they keep cutting to like it almost looks like a handheld camera that was just put in the back or a GoPro, just watching them like get tossed around in the back. It kind of looks like that scene from Jackass when they do the was it the
Oh
roller
yeah.
skates in the back of the truck?
Yeah, something like that. Where it's, yeah, I know I know which one you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. The truck's submerging though, like when they hit it into the river, it looks good. Like when it
Yeah,
shows it on its side and then he's like,
and it just,
like the
yeah.
breathing. Yeah, just like the flipping did look really good. Um and this is I don't really have much to say about the prison break. I mean, it's
Nah, it's
real
just your
quick.
kind of it's an excuse to have Ethan Hunt on a motorcycle again. Just because eventually he gets on a motorcycle and just starts going weaving in and out, getting chased by the police. It's an excuse for a chase scene in the middle of a downtown European city, but then he's being chased. They ended up getting Solomon Lane out, like breaking him out, and it's like a chase. Like Ilsa's after them because she wants to kill Lane. The police are after them because you
Well,
know
she grazes his ear, right? Or his like his neck,
something
something like
because
that, right?
I know she fires and it hits the pretty much hits him like dead, like the windshield dead on, and it might have, ricocheted and got him. But yeah,
Yeah, because I know there's a graze, and then there's only one line that I wrote from that scene, and it's from Solomon Lane. He said, "The end you've always feared is coming. The fallout
the fallout. Yeah, they
of
said
all your
it.
good intentions."
They
He said it.
said
That's the only reason I wrote it because I was like, he said it. But then we get the meeting, or we get the meeting with Alana, and he's talking about what happened and all that stuff, and then she says, I want, who's that woman that
yeah.
was there? She was there at the charity. She was there. I want her, or you don't meet the courier, and it all goes to the highest bidder. So it shows, again, broker. She's just
Yep.
playing sides and stuff. Whoever's gonna get that,
But
and then
now
we also get them.
it became personal because, um, you know, when they were breaking out Lane and they were trying to make it in the getaway car, they were kind of like frozen for a little bit by that French officer
Yeah,
who who Alana's people end up shooting, and before they could end up actually executing her, Ethan shot all four people. So
yeah,
Alana thinks it was, Ilsa. So now it's kind of personal because she thinks Ilsa shot and killed four of her men. So now she wants Ilsa for herself because of that.
that's right.
Yeah,
Speaking of, we do get the meeting with Ilsa.
yeah,
And this is when we find out that she's been tasked to kill Solomon to prove her loyalty back to
yep,
MI6 so she can get back in. And I do like the shot of how it's done where, Ethan's walking and she's just, following him and just missing him barely.
yep.
It is good. Like their scenes,
And that's
the scenes with
traditional
those two
spycraft.
together are really, yeah, like,
Like he knew
and
one
like I've
hundred
said
percent
before,
he was being followed.
oh yeah, and like like I've said before, that's my favorite thing about this franchise is when they do the spycraft, because I feel like the spycraft that they do in here you don't see in any of the modern spy movies. It's all
No,
about the action sequences. Like you get early hints of early James Bond, which is all about the spycraft. The gadgets come in later and all that stuff, but it's the conversations that they have, and that's where the dialogue really shines, where it's like you can see, like he's like, are you okay, I didn't mean to hurt
oh,
you
yeah,
and stuff like that.
because
Like
he ran
it's
her over
just
with a car, or like he hit her with the car.
yeah. And she was like,
Again,
I understand, like
yeah.
it's
Whereas in Rogue Nation, he swerves. This one, he plows right into
yeah.
her.
Boom. But he knows she can take it, that's
Yeah,
why. Like
yeah,
he's like, he knows what she can take. And then this
exactly.
is when Ethan's still having dreams of Julia.
Yeah,
He keeps seeing her and Solomon in his dreams. And then this is when we cut to London. So we finally got there. Hunley just chilling in the dark, waiting for them to arrive. Very Ghost Protocol with Paula Patton and Benji.
yep.
Waiting, was it Carter? God, speaking of freaking MCU references, Carter, Walker. So there's a line that I wrote down. So the plan is, they want to hand Lane over, but they don't want to hand over the real Lane. They said they're gonna have Benji go in
Yeah,
as Lane, and Benji's like, "Why do I have to be Lane?" And Luther pointing at himself, and then Benji nodding in agreement, like,
yeah.
I completely forgot about that.
But even then, like you said it in the previous one, where like, you know, Benji and Lane, like, like the two actors in a different, a movie could probably play brothers or something. Like
Yeah, like they just
very,
have that look, like just seeing the two of them
yeah.
go at it, like just in a scene together with like a back and forth, I think would be really great. But yeah, I'll take it. I called it. But yeah, they have that, and then I have a line from Hunley. The meeting is a trap. The White Widow has been working with the CIA, like you brought up earlier, since the beginning. Bargaining for immunity is her stock in trade, but we know that because of how the first one ends with Max's conversation with Kittredge.
Yep.
We're talking about, I think we can leave the courts out of this and we can come to some sort of agreement. So it shows, they've always been in cahoots, but it gives more weight to that scene from the first one. knowing that, yeah, they've been in cahoots. And then they give Walker the F bomb of the movie.
Yep.
And I don't remember exactly what it was, but I know he has that at least. And then the scene plays out. They put Solomon in the cage. They're like, okay, we're gonna go deliver him in a little while. Or what was it? Oh, because they had switched them already. So they
Yeah.
were like, okay, so Lane's gonna be in there. We have Benji. We're gonna go take him to the drop. And then this is when we get the heel turn and it's revealed. Oh my God, Walker
Walker
was
is
Lark
Lamar.
all along. Oh, I
It was
didn't see it.
Walker all along.
Oh God. Honestly, would have been a better show. But yeah, this is when we find out he's talking with Lane, and then he has the little line about, yeah, Sloan was right. IMF is just a bunch of grown men in rubber masks.
And
Oh
that's
my
when he
God.
catches himself. He's like, oh,
Yeah.
he's been
And he
played.
pulls off. Exactly. And then this is when Hunley comes in and he's like, I've ruined your day, haven't I?
And then, but he ends up stealing Hanley's gun, and he's like, well, the gun wasn't loaded, obviously, because
Yeah.
he's learning. He's learning. I mean, for a secretary.
Then he comes in and he's like, well played. Or I
Yeah.
forgot what Ethan says to him. And, Hunley's like, yeah. And what does he say? I see why y'all like this, or something like that. That's the one
Yeah.
line.
I think he even says you're fitting in real nice, sir, or like he's
Yeah.
fitting into the IMF real nice.
Yeah, and he's like, like that badge of honor. Like
Yeah.
he's like, yeah, I
I'm
am. I
part of the
like
team. I'm
this.
part of the team now.
And then because they had Sloan on the video, so she was able to hear everything. Because Walker was trying to reach out and be like, "No, I'm deep cover."
Deep game. She was like, yeah, and that's when Sloan was on FaceTime.
And then they're like, yeah, we'll take it from here. And then CIA comes in, and then turns out, Sloan was just playing them, and she's like, I'm getting all of y'all back here, and we'll figure out who's who. She's like, she basically does a bye and then hangs up. And from there, that's when we find out, like, okay, we're all going back. And then turns out Walker has people infiltrated in that team as well. Fight ensues in the tunnel, which, I mean, it's pretty cool, the whole, lights out sort of thing. We get this again. Luther gets taken hostage. Again, should have been killed at the beginning, or could have been killed right here.
Maybe should
Add
just
weight.
be, maybe he should just be sick behind the desk from now on.
Yeah.
I mean, and let's be fair. Like Ving Rhames is, he's a pretty stocky individual too. So
yeah. But there's only one reason why he's kept alive in this scene, and it's called Tracker Ex Machina. Because the tracker that they had, because we failed to mention that they had taken out the tracker from Solomon Lane when he was initially, being held, and they had swapped it out with another tracker of their own. Yeah. So they had pulled it out and they had left the tracker, and they show the tracker being placed down earlier in the scene. Yeah. And Luther picks it up and he stabs Walker. Well, I guess now we can call him Lark. He stabs Lark in the neck. He's like, ah. So Tracker Ex Machina to continue the movie. And this is when Hunley gets into the fight with Lark, and Lark stabs him, which it hurt Ethan. You can tell that really hurt him, because that little scene, when he's with them. And again, Alec Baldwin acting, dude.
Yeah.
Like, just that it's not over dramatic. It's not anything. It's just that he's not even talking a lot. He's just that.
Go. Because I mean, at the beginning, like he tells Ethan,
he gets me a little bit, dude. I'm like, oh,
he tells Ethan, he's like, I stayed because of you. So now it's like, he's still, even with his dying breath, he's still putting all of his faith in Ethan.
Yeah, and I honestly think it was a mistake to kill Hunley. Like, I think we should have had him for at least one more. But again, like, it feels like I've been wanting to say this in earlier videos, but I wanted to wait until we got here, because now it'll actually hold weight. the secretary position, I don't know if it's Secretary of
Cursed.
State or if that's just
Cursed.
what they call it for the IMF. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, oh, Mr. Secretary. Um, dude, it's the freaking
Cursed.
defense against the dark arts position for
It
the
really is.
IMF. Like,
It's
it's
cursed.
like no one can hold this position down. It's
It's
like,
cursed.
yeah, and
So
oh god,
like,
especially if the CIA, if it's a lateral move for a CIA director, which, like you said, some were saying a lateral move, does that mean the CIA director is getting put down too? Like,
well,
like
he even
every,
says that's why he thinks it's a demotion. Because I mean, in real world, like being the CIA director, like you're kind of a public face. Like you're no longer like identity not known. But that holds,
yeah,
I think, more political weight being the CIA director than I'm guessing the IMF secretary would in
yeah,
in this fictional world, which we
which
find.
we'll talk more about ad nauseum at the beginning of the next video because I got some notes on that too.
But like, so Kittredge was this wasn't he like the secretary IMF of director or whatever? Is
So
this
I think he was. I think it was sort of a dual role. I think it was that, but I also feel like he was the CIA director because that's
okay?
how it's sort of played out in the first one, as far as him being there, unless the IMF operates out of the CIA. Because at Langley, right? It was Langley.
Langley is the CIA,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because I always want to say Quantico, and I'm like, no, that's where the FBI trains,
yeah.
and but yeah, in Langley. You
Because
should know this. I've seen
I'm
freaking the Bourne movies so many
I'm
times.
just trying to get like, so we had like Kittredge, and then Anthony Hopkins' character, was he kind of the secretary? Like I'm just trying to get like if it is really the defense against the dark arts position where it's like,
Yeah,
and
so
then we have
let's run through it. So we had
Lawrence
Kit,
Fishburne, but I
yeah,
don't
in
know
the
their
third one.
exact roles, right? So like, were they like the director or whatever of the, like, were they the leader of the
At,
IMF? Like, what I mean? Like
yeah, at
top
least the
position.
head.
Yeah,
Like at
exactly.
least the head.
So I mean, we have Kittredge, we have Anthony Hopkins.
Yeah, Kittredge, Tony Hop.
Yeah,
We had Larry Fishburne. Then we had well,
Tom.
technically Tom Wilkinson.
Yeah,
Technically,
and they did
um,
call him secretary. So like, I think that was maybe the
yeah.
first mention of secretary.
And then I guess
It
they
was vacant,
were
and it was vacant in
the
the
fifth
fifth
one. I
until the end.
guess. Yeah, I guess you could technically say Brant was sort of the the interim.
We'll say liaison.
Yeah, the liaison to the IMF. And then in this one we have Hundley officially, and then boom. But
Wouldn't
I
it be
mean, we'll
cool?
talk.
We'll get into the predictions later. I actually had just thought of a good prediction. We're gonna have our prediction videos for the for Dead Reckoning, but we'll get there later. I just thought of
God,
something, but yeah.
yes. Make sure you write it down so you don't
You
forget.
know I'm gonna forget.
I know. Write it down.
Can't even remember
But
what
yeah,
the scores I've given these movies.
yeah. I was gonna write them down for you, but you know what? I will write them down if
It's
you
okay.
don't remember
It's
at the
okay. We
end of
got this.
this one.
Yeah.
So this is when we break into the chase scene. Pretty decent chase scene. He runs into a church where a funeral's going on.
It was St. Paul's
Um,
Cathedral.
yeah,
Massive building. Oh my god, it's so huge.
because
It
you've been
is.
there, right?
I've walked around it. It's gigantic. Yeah,
It looks
I didn't go
gigantic.
inside. Yeah, I didn't go inside. But yeah, it's a pretty big building.
And
I love London's landscape, like just downtown, like all of London. It is so beautiful.
I still want to go, man. Still, like
The
it's
architecture
bucket
is
list.
amazing.
I'm trying to hit that up. I'm trying to hit Germany up. Like I need to live and travel. Please support our channel. Help my
Yes.
dreams come true.
In fact, you know what we'll do? We'll go to every location in the Mission Impossible movies and take pictures of the locations.
This is where he broke his ankle. Speaking
Yeah,
of, with the chase scene, yeah, if you don't know, Tom Cruise really did break his leg
yeah. But he
filming this
continued the
scene.
scene too.
Yeah, again, a
And
master of
you'll
his
see it.
craft.
You'll see it. He jumps across the building. He like catches the ledge, and you can see his. I want to say it's his right ankle. It bangs right off the side of the building, and then when he pulls himself
Yeah.
up, he's limping, and But
In
yeah,
true Ethan Hunt fashion, because Ethan Hunt limps at least once when he's doing like after a run or after like a really big fight. you
Yeah.
see him do this like limp thing that he does. I am curious if Tom Cruise actually developed some sort of like limp or something like that because of having to do that so much.
Possible.
But yeah, God forbid this would have been a freaking Stanley Kubrick production. He'd really have something wrong with his leg. But there is one thing I wanted to mention about the chase scene. In the building, when he finally, he's running after him and he's like in the office building after he's done that jump. He's in there and he has to get out. So he throws a chair through a window and he's
Yeah.
standing in there and Benji's like, why have you stopped? And he's like, I'm I'm jumping out of a building. And he's like, oh, take your time. So when he's in the building and he's at the window and he's standing there, there's this one lady who has her hand over her mouth like that. And then there's another lady that's standing next to her. She cocks her head to the side like that, and then she nods up and down like, "Go for it." I just thought it was funny.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
It's
because
like, yeah,
I
having
love
worked in
that
an office
scene.
building, like there's definitely those people who would be like, "Oh my god," and then there, those of
Do
us who would be
do
like,
a
"Nah,
flip.
do it." Yeah,
Do a flip.
do a kickflip.
But
But what were you gonna
yeah,
say?
I love I love that part. One, that line, that delivery of that line reminds me of the Burj Khalifa when he's like, "Your rope is too short" or whatever. It's just that same kind of delivery. It's like,
Yeah.
Captain Obvious, right? But I like looking at the background people in that office building because it's just like everyone's doing something different, and it's just
Yeah.
like this probably like made their entire month in the office, right? Like just some
No
random guy
joke.
coming in, throws a chair through a window, talking to somebody in his head, like they know something's going up, but they're like, um, it looks like you have some important things to do, so yes, please go, go, go.
Having worked in an office, can confirm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been the highlight of the week. But yeah, this is when we're he's still running. He finally catches up to Lark in an elevator shaft, and you think, yeah, we think he's gonna shoot him in the face.
Yeah.
End of movie, end of franchise, right
But
there. Boom,
the funny
credits.
thing is like Ethan thinks he's doing well and he's about to catch up and catch him by surprise, only to look up and Lark's just like, "What the? What are you
Yeah,
doing?"
like really, dude.
Yeah.
And again, this is when we need, like I said, I feel like we need more Lark than we
Hmm.
do Walker. We need that heel turn. We need that personality to come out. And this is when we find out he's like, don't follow me and stuff like that. And he puts a picture down. And I do like Ethan's pictures, like
Yeah, because it's of who's the picture of?
Julia.
Dun dun dun.
And
And
then he has a line.
everything.
He says, "I'm her guardian angel."
Yeah. And then that's
And
when
then
that'll come back in a few.
yeah, and that scene does look good when he's standing on top of the building after the helicopter. You see just Solomon Lane just chilling in the copter right there next to him, and they're like best buds, just helicoptering out into the sunset. And it is a good shot though, that 360 of thing. They do a close up too right before it cuts to the next scene, but that one just looks like they were like, okay, we're just standing right here in the middle of a field, and we're just gonna pan the camera up like that. But it does look nice. And then this is when we find out about what they're doing, and that the device that they've created, it's a 5 megaton nuclear device that's greater than all of the explosive energy released in World War II.
Yep.
So definitely something that's gonna be like, world
I don't
ending,
I don't
definitely world
know. Yeah.
changing.
I don't know. Like I always forget which one's a greater yield, if it's like kiloton or megaton, but I'm almost certain megaton is more than a kiloton. And I think that's what they
Mm,
dropped off in like
it
Hiroshima and
makes
Nagasaki.
that makes sense
I for
because
some reason I never remember which one's more. I believe it's megaton.
megaton or
And I always go back
kiloton.
to and I always try to remember the line from like Godzilla when they're talking about like we tried to hit y'all tried to destroy this thing, a drop in nukes, and I think he says that was kilotons, not megatons. Because now they're trying. It's one or the other. They're trying to use the stronger of the two.
A megaton is bigger than a kiloton. A
Okay,
megaton
thought so. Yeah,
represents 1 million tons of TNT, while a kiloton represents 1,000
1,000. Yeah.
tons.
So
Hey,
So
learning
this is
something new today.
5
The more you
megatons,
know.
5 megatons. So that's 5 million each.
Yeah.
That'll ruin
So
someone's day.
that's yeah. And then we finally get Luther doing, his sage advice with Ilsa. This is when they get to talking. And I
This is
did write down.
this is what the line I wanted to go over from when we were talking about the end of Rogue Nation.
Oh, this is the
So
I
this
do
was
you,
this was yeah.
did
So
you want
Luke,
me to say what the line is exactly, or
no,
did you want
no,
to set it up
I
first? And
I got it. So Luther is talking to Ilsa because Ethan just got the revelation of Lark is quote Julia's guardian angel. So Ilsa's like inquiring about who she is, and Luther says to Ilsa, he goes, "In all the years that I've known Ethan, he's only been serious about two women. One was his wife." And then Ilsa responds, "He's married?" He goes, "No, he was." And then Ilsa asks, "What happened?" And he goes, "Well, she was taken by some people who wanted to get to Ethan. It's okay. He got her back in one piece. Then he quit the game. They were happy for a while. But every time something bad happened in the world, Ethan would think, I should have been there. And she would wonder, who's watching the world while Ethan is watching me? Deep down, they knew that someday, somehow, something truly terrible was going to happen, all because they were together." And then Ilsa asks, "So where is she now?" Luther continues, "She's a ghost, good at it too. Taught her myself. Every now and then she sends up a signal to Ethan to let him know she's safe. And that keeps him going." And she asks, "Why are you telling me all this?" And then this is where kind of Luther kind of, you know, breaks down a little bit. He goes, "We're in this mess because Ethan wouldn't let me die. He's a good man and he cares about you," talking to Ilsa, "more than he can admit. That's one more worry than he can handle right now. And if you care about him, you should walk away." And I wanted to bring up that line because in Rogue Nation, when she asks him to like run away with her, he gives her that like it's kind of a look like there's nothing he wants more than to run away with her, but deep down he knows he can't, because if he does that, even though she is good at what she does, again, who's going to watch the world if he's living a peaceful life?
yeah.
So that's that. I love that's probably like my favorite scene in the whole movie and Fallout. This one right here, and again, that just shows who Ethan is, and that's how it's like he wants so much to probably just have a to retire with Ilsa, but he can't because he knows if he does, the world really will go, you know, to crap, and he'll blame himself for it.
Oh, and thank you for getting the whole thing, because I had paraphrased some of the line, trimmed it down a little bit, but
Yeah,
yeah, the tears in Luther's eyes, dude.
dude, that
The
scene
te-
almost
you
gets me every time, just because.
Yeah.
I
The
mean,
regret, that
yeah,
like guilt that he has of, and it's sad because it's like, no, like he did it to save his life, but no, he's like, I should have died. And
yeah,
honestly, I feel like it should have happened, but then we wouldn't get this scene,
we
which
went, yeah,
I feel like this scene is the heart
yes,
of the movie, where you have to have something like, especially with where we're going on this journey, because again, very different from where we started with the first movie, definitely the second one, to where we are now. Like it has to have that heart in there, and Luther's always been that heart. He starts out with the comic relief, but I mean, the first thing, the first instance of trust that Ethan has in the first movie is giving him the knock list, and he's like, why, why? And he's like, because if you knew what you were getting into, you wouldn't have done it. And he was like, I'll protect this. This
yeah,
list will not get out. And he's like, I know you will. Like, it's like that love and respect that they have for each other. And I mean, the fact that he keeps coming back in every single one,
yeah,
in some way or form. But yeah, it's like, but yeah, I mean, we'll talk about predictions like you said in the other one. But yeah, just those tears in those eyes, and I wonder what Ilsa was gonna say when she says Luther, and then Ethan walks in.
yeah.
It's like, ah.
But then she
And
ends up, against what Luther says, she ends
yeah,
up
she's
saying, but I think she also realizes that she wouldn't be a burden, right?
yeah.
Like she can for sure take care of herself. And I think she knows she wants to help out in any way she can.
Which is why she says, "I'm coming with you."
Yeah, because I think because when he says he should have died, but Ethan couldn't let him. Ethan couldn't sacrifice one to save millions. So now Luther has kind of the weight of millions on him, and I think she's also doing it to like she's trying to help out to validate Ethan saving Luther because I mean with no like you said with no like Luther's the heart of kind of the team, and I
Yeah,
think by him telling Ilsa that she wants to validate Ethan's choice, like no, we save everyone, not just we don't sacrifice one.
yeah. Like Hunley told him, you're the one that's always focused on the one, and we need that because
Yeah.
if we focus on the big picture, we lose sight of why we're
Yep.
doing it. And one life is worth more than millions sometimes, and that's in those situations. But he's the one that's able to see through that and to make that call and follow through with it.
Yep.
And that's from there, that's when we cut and they're like, where are we going? Kashmir comes back again. Yeah, I guess they couldn't afford the
Cashmere.
rights for Zeppelin. Or okay, so let me rephrase that. If this was the Fast and the Furious franchise, they would have had Led Zeppelin playing. It would have cut immediately to Zeppelin somehow. And then there's that line that Ilsa says. She says, "I still don't understand why Lane wants a medical camp there." Where they want, and this is a repeating theme in the movie, and it's used to signify a character reveal. This is the same thing that's done every time that they're trying to show Walker as Lark. But this one is used to reveal what, Robert?
That Julia is what she is on site. She now has a new husband, but yes,
Enter
they
Wes
were
Bentley.
right. Which
Which, what's the last thing he was in? Hunger Games?
man, I don't know. I know he's in a show. I think he's in a show, but in terms of movies, man, I'm not even sure. Like he's had a odd career.
I will tell you, yeah, from American Beauty to The Four Feathers, which is my favorite Wes Bentley movie. Well, having
Not
said that,
Ghost
I'm like,
Rider.
oh my god, I forgot he was in Ghost Rider.
You want some?
I just remember,
You want a movie
the
with
ending
bad
when he's like,
dialogue.
ah.
So
That's the only thing I remember.
you want a movie with bad dialogue. But
Dude, he
anyways,
was in Interstellar. How did I forget that?
I don't know. I mean,
Just
Interstellar is not my favorite Nolan film,
oh,
so
he's in Yellowstone. That's right.
that's what it is. I knew it
He's
was a
been
popular
running around
show.
Yellowstone.
I knew it was a
Yeah, I
popular
mean,
show. I just never seen Yellowstone. I might make the commitment
yeah.
here soon.
I still haven't. Yeah, I think I'm about to do the same just because I've run out of stuff to watch. Well, let me rephrase that.
Isn't
I've run out of good stuff to watch.
I will say isn't Pullman also in there?
Is he?
Who go and we'll get we'll talk about this off screen anyways.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. Um, but yeah, so they're there because it was a smallpox, right? That's where they set up a smallpox camp and everything, and
Yes, that's correct. And to answer your question, Outer Range is the show you were thinking of with Lewis
that's what it
Pullman.
was. That's what it
Yeah,
was.
same thing.
I knew it was
Western.
yeah. I think they
Out in
made
the
Outer
desert.
Range to like compete, right? Like that was Amazon's. That show got weird. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well, I
if you
mean,
watched it.
it's like sci-fi more
That show
based for
got
that one.
weird. That show got
But
weird.
yeah,
Anyways,
they enter, they have that conversation where he's like, "Oh, I'm a doctor as well. That's what I'm doing here."
he was in cartoon.
And yeah, and then they were like, "What are you doing here?" And it's like, "Oh, we got brought into the thing, an anonymous donor, dropped
Our
all this
guardian,
money.
our
It's
quote
our
guardian angel,
yeah." And
and
then he
that's
looks, and then he's like, "Well, I'll let y'all catch up." And he's like, "Oh, I got to get going. It was good to see you." And I love that line when he's like, "I'm so sorry." Like, I'm
and
so like you could tell he's like,
yes,
because when he
but
sees it, he's like, Julia?
yeah,
Like, what do
and
you like?
then
He looks like,
but when she looks over and sees like Luther and Benji, and she's like, oh, something's going down. Like
like she
she
knows
becomes
immediately.
yeah yeah.
Don't they
Like
wave at her too?
I think Benji is
Yeah.
like yeah, Luther's like yeah, and then that's when she has a realization like oh like her husband like Wes Bentley's just talking and talking, and she's like everything just dropped out of it. Like she's like oh crap.
He does have a quick line. I didn't write it, but I heard him say something about 55 and heart attack. And I was like, is Wes Bentley supposed to be 55 in this movie? Or like pushing 60?
I don't remember.
Because
Ah,
it's like I said, it's really quick and you miss it. I didn't write it down, but I was like, "Oh man, are you trying to tell me Ethan Hunt is 60 years old in this movie?" Either that or Julia likes him older.
maybe. But no way Wes Bentley's that old either.
Well, I mean, technically, she does have daddy issues. To call back to the third movie, she doesn't have her dad.
That's
So,
true. Fair to walk her down the aisle. Yeah,
see, go
fair.
back and watch the third entry and our coverage on it. So, yeah, this is when, we cut to it. They're running around and we get the helicopter scene. So,
Yep.
what you got to say about the helicopter scene?
So overall, like the last, I will say like the last like I think this whole thing takes like 20 minutes. It's kind of like last act of the movie, and it's really good. And I think they said Tom Cruise spent like 18 months trying to learn how to fly a helicopter just to do this whole scene, which is just wild. Like I'm pretty sure these movies just exist for him to do crazy things. But
When you did your rewatch, did you realize that when it shows the helicopter scenes, it cuts to full screen?
yes,
And then it keeps, when it goes back to them at the village, it goes back to widescreen, and then it just keeps going flat scope, flat scope. But it looks good,
it
right?
looks so like
So
the landscape is so gorgeous, and like the camera angles, it like brings another level of intensity for it. Like it's kind of like there's like a lot of low angle shots, like they attach the cameras to the helicopters, so we see it from both ways. From because he Hunt's chasing Lark, right? There's two helicopters because
yeah,
there
and
has to
then
be, right? And of
yeah, and
course there
he
has to
has
be like a pile of rocks or payload. What do they call it? A payload
the
dangling from the
payload
second one just so Ethan can like climb up and it just
and fall off and then
yeah
climb up again.
that dangle that was just like that was kind of forced just to provide an extra layer of crazy stuff to do. Like I don't know why you needed that. What was the payload? It didn't even say, right? Was it
I would
rocks?
assume it was like medical gear and stuff like
Maybe it
that,
just
if
seemed
anything,
weird.
that they were probably bringing to drop in.
It
But
just seemed weird.
dude, it's only been 4 minutes because they had set a timer. He was like,
15
Solomon
minutes.
sets it in, yeah, 15 minutes, and he says, "I'm staying. I'm gonna finish this off." So that's what I was talking about earlier. How I feel like Solomon has this plan
Hmm.
all along. He just needed someone to facilitate, and well, I'm gonna be locked up doing this, so I'm gonna need you to carry on my work. So let's do a merger. You can be my contractor that facilitates and continues to see everything out, and then I'll be broken out, and then we can continue the plan as is. Because I like that he says, like, I'm not running anymore, whatever it is. He's like, it ends here for me. So he's like, no, I'm going down with the ship.
Yeah,
So
so
he's like, I gave you 15 minutes.
you think this was his end game? Like even from Rogue Nation, he just got caught, so it got delayed, and then they had to like
Uh,
somehow
Yeah.
figure out a way to break him out.
Yeah, because ultimately it was about, what can we do to change the landscape? And I feel
Yeah,
like this was the one where he was like, yeah. And they both have the same thing of, we want to change world order. We want
yeah.
to shake up the system by destroying it and implementing our own. But like I said, it's only been 4 minutes out of the 15 for this.
Yeah,
And
I think most of it is happening like concurrently. You just can't show
yes.
like you're not going to go split screen, right? Because
Yeah.
that's too much. So that's how I was like looking because I'm like, this is the longest 15 minutes. This is like Dragon Ball Z level, like insane. But like in my mind, I'm just like, hey, it's probably all happening at the same time. You just can't since there's two like different parts. You can't split screen it, right? Because that's going to be that's going to be ugly to follow on screen,
Yeah.
especially when you're shooting like on location and you have like these wide, gorgeous locations. You're not gonna split screen that. Like, come on,
Oh no. God
right?
no.
Like,
But we do get I think this is no, I guess the first one has an action hero line, but we get an action hero line where he realizes, oh yeah, I have a payload, what can I do with this? And
yep.
he's like pulling up, and then he says, hold this for me, will you? He drops it and fumbles it. He
Yep.
fumbles it.
Miss. Well, I'm pretty sure
But
he
also,
couldn't
if he drops it, he's gonna kill him and he's gonna lose the thing.
again. So
It's
yeah, I think
like,
that's what it was. I think he wanted to like not completely like maybe just clip the blade and make. I mean, I don't know because they were over a lake
because he
too.
even goes, like he's
Yeah,
like,
like they're over a lake, so it's like if he goes down in the lake, like you're not gonna. What are you gonna do? Jump into the water and get the switch.
I mean, he would. It's Ethan.
Yeah, but
He'd
like
probably like
how deep
let
is the
me set
water,
the helicopter to autopilot somehow
right?
and just jump down into the water.
It's a mountain lake. I'm sure it's deep as hell.
Yeah.
So
And then, this is when the chase scene starts. And then this is when he goes, it's the corkscrew, right?
yeah.
That's the, where he's at. And dude, we finally got it. We get a Mission Impossible 2 MI2 shout out.
What was it? Go for it.
Terrain,
Oh
terrain,
yes, yes,
pull up,
that's right.
pull
Yeah.
up.
When I
I was
heard
like,
that,
ah!
that's right. When I heard that, I was like, that is the exact same, same like robotic voice, same everything.
Yeah.
I was like,
This time, this one's
okay.
female. This
Yeah.
time, this one is female.
It was just funny. Yeah, I do remember
Dude, as
that.
soon as I heard it, I was like, oh my God, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
I was like, I would have stood up in the audience like, MIT finally getting some love.
It's been validated.
But yeah, I mean, the chase scene looks good. I will say this.
The crashing.
Oh, it looks so bad, dude.
Yeah,
It looks so bad. And especially because we're still shooting it in flat. So it's still like, oh yeah, we want to get the terrain and stuff like that. And it's like, at what cost though? Again, they do these really awesome shots where it's shot realistically and they take a lot of pride in that. But then they have to shoe in that CGI to try to bridge it, and it just it hurts it. It hurts it more than it elevates it.
Yeah, like you might be able to get away with it, like if somebody's only going to watch it once, maybe twice, but like we've probably seen this movie like 10 times, like or whatever it is, and it's just it's just the more you repeat watching something, the more you're going to catch, which is it's unfortunate, but at the same time, like if you really want to make a memorable movie for people to watch over and over,
miniatures, dude. This is when a miniature comes in, and I think it would have looked good. I think it would have looked good,
especially now. Like, miniatures even back in the day looked good, but now, Star Wars, take Star Wars, Star Trek, like all that looked pretty good back then.
Yeah, it still does. It still holds up because the story's strong, and we need again. That's my issue with the franchise is that we need to go back to doing more practical, and they do that with this, but still stay with it. Like, don't rely so much on CGI to fix a lot of this stuff. I mean, it's just there's a tool, but you don't need to do it to replace entire scenes.
Yeah, like I get you probably can't crash helicopters, maybe, but again, you can use miniatures.
Oh, I mean, they could hire the team from the Twilight Zone movie, but
then you'd have to
too soon.
Then you'd have to like CGI the explosion, which was it this one? At the end, the explosion, yeah, when the helicopter falls off, right? The explosion could even looked a little.
Yes.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Especially when you go from Rogue Nation in the car bomb. Like, yeah, you can blow up a car,
Chancellor.
Right?
Oh. Yeah. Oh.
I mean, like obviously, if you shoot this on location, you're not going to explode a helicopter in like the mountains of Kashmir. So it's like I get it, but
miniatures. Yeah. I'm telling you.
I mean, you can film like I mean, again, I don't know how much a helicopter costs or whatever. So I don't know. Like you can like build a helicopter, right? Like out of cheap materials and explode that or something, and you can explode it somewhere and then like I don't want to say green screen it in, but like superimpose scenes on top, and it might look you know what I mean?
Which is what it is. It's you bring them together, and good example. Oh God, I can't believe I'm going to use this as an example. The plane in Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
Done practically. Boom, falls out of a tree, rolls.
Yeah.
Like easily could have done it. Trying to think of other plane crash things that they use practically, but I'm just like, yeah, that's the only thing that comes to mind.
We might get one in Final Reckoning with those planes.
Oh God, if it does, 10 stars, I'll stand up in the freaking audience and clap. But yeah, this is the helicopter falls down. We get Hook Ex Machina because the Hook is holding on to the thing and it's holding the helicopter in place. Speaking of MI2, we get another shout out. We get a wall climb.
Oh yeah, brings his rock climbing back. But anyways, with the two bombs, they have to what is it? They have to cut the two bombs simultaneously, like after Ethan gets the device from Walker to like he's got to like unscrew it. He's basically got to like take apart the kill switch on Walker's device. So he's got to do that first before Benji and Luther cut the two bombs because that has to be done simultaneously. And of course,
Yeah.
it can only have been done after the bombs were activated.
Yep.
So the helicopters fall down, and there's like they're Ethan and Walker's climbing up the rope that has the hook on it, and the switch is on top of the cliff. And then that's when we see like the hook kind of like or the rope kind of given, and Ethan just yanks on it. The hook comes down and just gets Walker right in the forehead, and down goes Walker or Lark, whomever.
And then we get an explosion of that helicopter, which again looks really bad.
Yeah, but I will say like at least Walker falling didn't look as bad. Like when people when they do that, like I just go back to Star Episode 1 with Darth Maul. Just that looked terrible. Like even back
Yeah.
then, it looked like a dummy. But like it goes
See, but
back
I'm okay
to
with dummies. I'm
yeah,
okay with
it just
dummies.
looked.
It's when
But
we get into CGI doubles that it just looks like,
yeah,
out of it.
I think it was just more of Maul's like face when he like his eyes roll back. But it doesn't matter.
Hmm.
But then Ethan has to climb back up, and the timer's ticking, and Luther and Benji's going back. It's like, what when should we do it? On one? We gotta wait. We're gonna cut it that close. So and then when they get to it, and they're like 3, 2, and then they cut it. And I love the next scene how it's just like bright, like an
Yeah.
actual bomb going off, and it kind of gets you things like, oh crap, obviously they're gonna succeed, right? But the way it was shot in transition looked like a nuke had gone off. But then you see Ethan
Yeah.
hanging from the cliff with the little thing in it, the switch, broken apart in his mouth or
Yeah.
whatever it was, and
He's
then
like,
yep, and then the two plutonium cores drop out of the bombs. But I love that transition shot.
yeah.
Love it.
It
Yeah,
looks good.
it
It
looks, and it's just,
looks
what is it?
good.
Just like a sunrise or like something like that, or not.
Yeah,
But it's just
it's like the sun just
yeah,
being there.
but it's so well transitioned, and it's just so great. But then yeah, Ethan climbs back up, and that's when he gets rescued.
We also get from Luther, my man.
My man.
We get a my man.
Yep.
And then we cut back to the base camp, and this is when we get the line from Julia's husband. He's like, yeah, she brought this is when Sloane is revealed she's actually there in person, and he says that she brought the Indian army with her. And he does dude, the hammy line, but it's funny. He's like, see you later, Doc. He had fun with this role, and it was cool to see him, like, because you see, the only time I've ever seen him is he's very serious in roles.
Yeah.
So I've never seen him play like aloof or funny. So it was cool to see that. I enjoyed, his 3 minutes of screen time that he has, if that.
If that,
But it
yeah.
was nice. And dude, I forgot that because this is I don't like the way that this ending is cut. It's
No,
because it's like it's very and I'm gonna say something really bad, but it's very Chris Nolan cut
oh
to where
yeah,
it's like cutting back and forth to like these different things, but it keeps cutting back to
him
the
in the
base
base camp.
camp.
Yeah,
Yeah, but it's
it
cut in
was
a really
an odd choice to end it this way because like they're trying to wrap it up and
yeah,
tie everything in a nice little bow, but at the same time, it's like it does feel weird.
because we have this heartfelt moment where Julie and Ethan are talking, and Ethan's like he's failed. He's like, I'm so sorry, like it got this close to you and stuff like that, because his whole thing has been protecting her,
Yeah,
and her saying, like, you gave me a life, like I love my life, being able to do this, and I feel so safe knowing that you're out there protecting me, and that you
yeah,
always will. And then when she leaves, Ilsa says something to her, but I'm not sure
yeah. They don't reveal
what it
what is
is.
what they don't, I don't think they reveal what is said between them. It's kind of like a shared moment between them.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's like a long wait. Doesn't Julia say like take care of him?
I don't know if she does because I was trying to figure out what
I
was
could
being said
I
as
might be
well.
misremembering. I don't know. I know they share a moment that I don't think is shared with us as the audience, but I could swear Julia says something like "take care of him" or something.
Yeah.
Because I mean, she knows, and I mean, and I think Ethan even tells tells Julia like he's happy for her. Like she's found her purpose and whatever. And I think Julia knows like when she sees Ilsa and she kind of sees how Ilsa looks at him and how he looks at her. She knows.
Yeah. And just that little moment, and then it cuts randomly to where like now we're getting a voiceover from Sloane where she's talking about I see what Hunley was talking about, which now all of a sudden she's on IMF's side.
Yep.
And again, like I feel like we need her more in the movie to establish that, because if we're just going to repeat what they did with Hunley,
Yeah.
we need to have that with her, because the last instant we have is like you said, a FaceTime chat, and
Yeah.
she's like, okay, we'll deal with it when you get back. But all of a sudden she's like, now I have this change of heart, and it's like, we needed that. So they cut to that, and while she's doing the voiceover, this is when we find out, because I completely forgot that they give Lane back to MI6 at the end
Brokered
via
through
Alana.
Alana. Yep.
Yeah. Which, we didn't talk about, the fight, but yeah, while they're looking for the other bomb, they go off, and Benji and Ilsa and Lane, they just have a fight where it's pretty much everybody's getting hanged or tied up, and they
Yeah.
end up hog tying Lane. And yeah,
Yeah.
Luther and Julia
Ilsa
try to
chokes
take
him
out one of
out.
the other
Yeah.
bombs.
Ilsa
Yeah.
chokes him out before she can like Benji was like being hung, but he was being suffocated. He couldn't quite cut the rope because she had gave him a broken bottle, and
Yeah.
she was trying to choke out Lane faster than Benji could be choked out, and she managed to succeed with like a split second left. I just love how Benji falls on his right arm. He falls and like bangs his face, and he's like, ah, and like wakes up. It's just
Yeah.
she doesn't bother catch. She just boom, bam.
I got time. I got to kill this guy right here.
Yeah,
But yeah, and then we cut to the end. Then all of a sudden, now it's like Ilsa and Ethan talking, and then he's like, "Please don't make me laugh," and then boom, credits.
yeah,
Which I don't know if you watched the credits. It's really weird. Like it's like Ving Rhames, and then it starts going like in order of all the supporting cast. And then it gets Henry Cavill right at the end, and then Tom Cruise.
no,
Like it,
I didn't see
it,
that.
it
I don't. Yeah,
yeah, it's just
unless
a
they were just
weird
going.
order.
Unless they were just going like the exact opposite of like the top build cast. Because what Henry
But they
Cavill
didn't
got.
though. That's the thing, because that's not how they were ordered
Well,
at
I'm
the
saying, but
beginning. That's
like
why it was
because
weird.
Tom Cruise was first, and then Henry Cavill, right?
But
So
Ving
then,
Rhames wasn't last though.
oh
That's the thing, because it's like it goes like in the order. It's sort of like at the beginning, it's like Tom Cruise, Henry Cavill, Ving Rhames, da da da. But then it's like it
yeah,
starts from how it was at the beginning, and then it flips it to where it's like Henry Cavill, then Tom Cruise. So it's like we
interesting.
cut the top two we cut him off, and then we just moved him to the end, and but flipped it too. So it
Yeah,
was like it was just really
it's a
weird.
weird choice. Yeah,
Yeah, but like I said, that's Fallout. That's Mission
yeah.
Impossible Fallout. Um, yeah, we definitely went a little longer on this one than we expected, but I mean, we honestly didn't think we were going to talk as much about this one. But there was a lot of stuff though that we have to unpack.
Yeah,
So
I feel like the stuff we wanted to talk about, we had to talk about as much as we did. Like there wasn't a
yeah,
lot like we did in the previous. Like we kind of broke down a lot of everything. This one was like we kind of brushed past things, but then the things we wanted to talk about, we wanted to go more in depth into it.
yeah, no, I agree. I
Yeah.
agree. And having said that, where are you sitting at a 10?
Hmm. So I did like a lot of what this movie did. There was a few choices and things that kind of take it away from being, perfect or what what it is. Like I mean, I've said it before. Like ever since like Ghost Protocol, this is where the movies get to be more intricate. Is the word I like to use. I think Rogue Nation up until this point was like it was by far like the best written. This one, it was a good story, albeit it did get somewhat hard to follow. I don't necessarily want to say convoluted to the point where, because when I think of whatever, like convoluted stories, I think of like, okay, we're kind of generating some plot holes a bit. Um, I don't think it necessarily went that far, but it did get a bit hard to follow at some points. Um, but again, the action set pieces were great. It kind of makes up a little bit for it. I do think bringing back Solomon Lane was a good choice. I wit, and this is where it gets weird because I like Henry Cavill, and I think John Lark was a good character. Walker and Lark was a good character, but I'm kind of thinking, since Rogue Nation and Fallout was maybe two parts, if maybe we could have set up Cavill to be like the villain reveal at the end, and then he could have maybe been the villain for the final two installments, like with Reckoning.
Like a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I don't know how different the story would have been, because we'll get into what is it, Dead Reckoning later. I know how much they wanted to go back to Ethan's first mission in that one, but I feel like we could have had more of Lark. So, but I do think there's still a lot to like here. I want to say maybe like a 7.5, maybe an 8 on a good day. Just depends on how I feel. I do think this movie does have a lot of replayability for most people. Like, if you want a good like action, set piece, set dressing to just put on, I think you can definitely just put this one on and enjoy it. So I'd probably go between 7.5 or an 8 out of 10 on a good day. Yeah, probably more
Nice.
7.5, but yeah. Where do I rank the other ones? I don't remember.
Yeah, I
I don't.
don't
I didn't
remember
write.
either.
I don't. I didn't write them all down. I remember
But
MI2 was a 5.
MI2 was a 6.5 for me. I remember that
Yeah.
much. Um yeah, so for this one, I it's funny you say everything you just said, especially with your rating. So this one is a slight step down from the previous entry from Rogue
100%.
Nation.
100%.
There's a tone or a feel that feels very different in this one, and I think you hit it on the head with Fast and the Furious franchise, like the later. That's very much what this one feels like. Whereas the previous one felt very suave and sort of a throwback. This one initially, what I had wrote down, this one initially felt very Craig era Bondish with a splash of The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah, I can see that.
Is what it felt. The acting's still good. It almost felt like there were like a lot of. It almost felt like a lot of deleted scenes were five were just stitched together to make this one. It was sort of like we filmed five, we had all these scenes, but we felt like these scenes were a little hammy or a little too
Or like
out there,
maybe
so we trimmed
repurposed
them
them,
off.
or like
Uh,
repurposed them.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what it felt like it was to make this one. And the reveal of Walker, like I said, as the bad was spoiled in the trailer, so it rips all the suspense out. The CGI cars and the fire were pretty bad. The story's there, but it feels like something's missing. Something's still missing. There's no reason why this had to be 2.5 hours, the longest entry so far. It did not need to be 2.5 hours.
Unless you
Um,
wanted to include more Lark. I
yeah,
feel like at two
or
and a half hours, maybe there was just one too many new characters, or because like you still got to give Alana screen time. But
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I mean, we could start by cutting out the 2 minute side sequence of what could have happened
yeah,
during the thing. Like, you didn't need that. Like I said, Angela Bassett could have been used more, and the ending where all of a sudden she's on board from when we last saw her to where she double crossed them. And did it really take Hunley dying for her to come over to their side and see it from their perspective? So like you summed it up perfectly. There's a lot to like, but there's also a lot where it's like, oh, it really hurts this movie. So initially I had gave it an 8 out of 10, but after talking with you through it, and that's why I chuckled a little bit when you had said 7.5 or 8 on a good day, I actually dropped my score down to 7.5 out
okay,
of
that's
10,
fair.
because after talking it through, like, it's like No, like that bad creeps in way too close to the good.
Yeah,
And like I said, it's still a good movie, but
yeah,
it's ooh, like it really
definitely.
toes that line.
And I would say it's an entertaining movie, right?
Yeah.
So like there's kind of a difference between like a good movie and an entertaining movie, and I think the best one I could ever get to would be like the first live action Transformers. And
Mm,
I don't want to equate that to Fallout because I think Fallout is by far better, like has a
yeah.
better
But as
movie.
far as entertaining
But
with a good story,
it's definitely entertaining. Like you don't have to think like it's just fun to watch. You know, you go to watch those movies just to watch robots just beat the crap out of each other, and you definitely will get that, especially towards the latter part of that movie. And it's a fun movie to watch. You put it on when it if you need something to watch on TV, you put it on and watch it, or just play it, whatever. And I think with Fallout, it's definitely it's a good movie, but it is far more entertaining as well. So you when it's on, you want something to watch, you watch it, and you know that you're just gonna get a lot of entertainment out of it, especially like the set pieces and the the action sequences.
yeah. And like you said, I love that you said that about if it's on, you finish it off. This is one that you'd see like on TNT. That oh, okay, it's in the middle. Like I guess I'll
Yeah,
finish
I'll
watching
finish it
it,
off.
or
Yeah.
I'll like clean in the background to have like some background noise
Hmm.
or something. But yeah, as far as like wanting to sit down and like like
Yeah,
it really toes that line.
well, it's not like watching Rogue Nation where you're trying to take notes and then all of a sudden you just watch the whole movie and you're like, crap, now I gotta watch it. I mean, I gotta watch it again.
Oh, what? That happened to
Yeah,
us?
I gotta watch it again.
Yeah, because yeah, this was the one like I didn't like I was taking notes while watching this one, and I didn't feel the need to want to rewatch it
Yeah.
to catch back on notes. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much all I got for Fallout. You got anything else on your end?
No, I don't think so. I think
Awesome.
we're
Well,
good.
now we can get to your baby.
Get to rank it.
Where are we ranking this? This is
Let's
all
see. What do
you.
we
The
got?
honors.
Hmm. Man, this one's tough.
Right?
This one's tough, man, because I don't even remember what I ranked. I a part of me wants to go here just for the entertainment value alone. Hmm.
It hurts, right?
It's really difficult for this one because I really enjoy this movie. Like in totality, I enjoy it. It's not a perfect movie. I'm gonna go here for now. I'm gonna drop it in the A tier for now.
Okay.
Yeah, for now.
Not bad, not
We'll
bad.
see. We'll see. Once we get to Dead Reckoning, we'll see if I have to rearrange
Yeah.
things.
Separate the men from the boys.
Yeah.
All right. So you feel good with your
I
selection?
feel okay with it for right now. Yes. Lock it.
Good, good. So uh this one, yeah, like you just said too, this one's a little hard to um do I think it's as bad as Mission Impossible 2? I do not.
No.
Um but then I'm like, is it on par with Ghost Protocol and MI3, or is it weaker? Because I don't think it's on Rogue Nation First Mission Impossible level,
Yeah.
but it's like,
See,
oof.
that's why I have Ghost Protocol higher. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine right now.
You know what?
I'm not gonna overthink it.
It's right in between.
Okay.
It's right in between. It's not as good as Ghost Protocol, but it's also better than Mission Impossible 3
Yeah. I think like yeah, because I mean we've talked
as
about
far as
three. I think
story
with
and entertainment
I'm
value.
about to say yeah, with three, I think the only thing that's lacking is just the weak story.
Yeah. Great characters,
Yeah,
very weak story.
very fun, but it's just very weak story, and I think that's as kind of difficult as it is to follow Fallout, at least in certain parts. I think it's definitely a better story.
I love that MI2 wasn't even a C. It's just way down a D.
Yeah.
Awesome. But yeah, that's been our coverage on ranked for Mission Impossible 6. If we're going to call it that, MI6, Mission Impossible 6, Mission Impossible Fallout, the 15 different titles it has. Thank y'all so much for sticking with us and, on this journey. It's been an interesting one to say the least, as you can see below. We still got one more left to do, and from there, this is where we're gonna see: are we sticking with what we have, or do we feel like we need to rearrange? But time will tell. Aside from that, like I said, thank you all again for your time, for watching. Definitely go back and check out the previous videos. Join the journey with us. We want to hear your rankings, just like Robert always says. Be sure to like, subscribe, get down in those comments. We want to hear from you. And Robert, you want to tell them about some of the other stuff we got going on the channel?
Absolutely. Like previously stated, we also have our coverage for the other Mission Impossible movies. Go check those out. This has been a pretty fun series to do. Hey, let us know if you want anything else ranked. I mean, we definitely have our ideas, but if there's something in particular, let us know. But we also got our Avengers Doomsday video starting with our new Avengers predictions on who we think Sam Wilson will have on his team. We have our Thunderbolts coverage. I think that movie's like 3 weeks into the box office. Please go check out that movie. It's a good movie. We have a spoiler filled review and recap of it for the whole movie and for the post credit scene. And we have a bunch of trailer reactions that we do. Anytime a new trailer comes out, we try to hold off and watch it. Be the first time to watch it on camera. We have Fantastic Four. We got Weapons. We got what was it? A breed apart. That looks
Mm-hmm.
like a fun one.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
just
got a
released
little.
that one recently.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot. A lot of trailer actions. A little bit for everyone. We don't just stick to one genre because we like to watch everything. We also have our Daredevil Born Again coverage for all 9 episodes. We have some thoughts and opinions on that. May align with
Oh yeah,
yours. Go check it out.
awesome. Couldn't have said it better myself, Robert. Thank y'all as always for watching, and we'll see you later.